In today's video, I'll show you how you'd be able to use ClickUp free forms for project intake. So let's get started. So first, I'm going to show you on how you could create your forms in here. So you just simply want to go here into the space that you'd want, go into the list view, and from here, click on the plus view icon or button right here. And now you'd be able to see form. So you want to click on that. And from here, you would now be presented with templates on the purpose of your form. So in this video, we're creating this form for the purpose of project intake. So we're going to go here for this template so that it would be much easier. Now in here is that you can now modify the description in here if you'd want to. So I'm going to go for sample project intake form, and then I'm not going to modify this one. And next, you can now customize the fields. So in here, we have the project name first based on the template. We have the additional details about the project, what is the priority of this project, any additional relevant information, and so on. And yeah, you can modify this by clicking on that certain field. You can modify the name right here. Like for example, I'm gonna name this project number instead of name. I could do it like that. You could make it a required field so that they can proceed without answering this question. You could hide it or you could delete it if you don't want this. And if needed, you could also click here and add another question or a block. So in here, we could also go for dates right here. Like for example, we'll ask when is the deadline. So you could go here for dates, and then you could go for due date right here, for example. So the due date right here. So you could now select a due date and make it required. You could also allow time input and so on. So it would actually depend on the kind of question or block that you are inserting right here into your form. We're not going to go through it one by one because there's a lot. But yeah, you just need to click on that block and then you should be able to see your options in here on what you could do about it. Next is that we have the settings right here on the next menu. And you would now be able to see the settings in here. You can now create this task in the list. So this is where we are currently selecting or inserting it. And then you could now assign this into a person here in ClickUp, but this would require me to upgrade to my plan. And then you could also apply a template upon submission. So again, it is only a freemium plan feature. And the submission settings, the layout, the colors, you could change that right here if you have the premium plan. And next is that you could also click here in preview, and this is how it would look like. And now, once you're satisfied with everything in here, the next thing that you want to modify is to click here on end page. And this is where you'd be able to see what they would see if they complete your form. So let's go back in there. And then this would require me to have a premium plan to proceed. And then once you are done with everything in here, you could now save this view. And not just that, we could also go here into automate button on the top right where we could set up our automation. Like for example, you would want to be notified whenever a task is completed. So you could also add it here into this form, and then you would be notified when someone completes a task here in this form. And then basically you can set it up the automation right here, like the trigger in here, like a task or subtask, and then the status changes because it is marked into complete. You could go from any status into complete right here, but I don't have the complete label in here, so I can do that. So let's just say closed right here or complete, as you can see. And then we have the action. So what would the action be, or how are you going to be notified? You could go for add a comment on a task right here. So, or in the form right here. So you could add a comment. You could go change task type, change tags, status, priority, change due date, create a task, and so on right here, depending on what you'd want. But since we just want to be notified, I think add a comment is enough. And then you could also modify this message if you want to. But in my case, I think that's enough. And then once you're done, you want to click here and create. And that's it. You have now added your automation right here on this task. So this is basically it on how you'd be able to do this. One last thing is that you can click here on copy link and make sure it is published, and then go into that link. And then basically you'd now be able to answer your form that you have just made right here, like your project number and other details right here. And once it's submitted, it will be now received on your ClickUp list. So I'm just gonna go and answer all of this randomly just to see if we would be able to receive it. As you can see, it says thank you now, and then go back in here, refresh it, and then we should now be able to see that we now have one response right here, as you can see. Now we're gonna click on that, and then we would now be able to see that right here. It has now been added, and then this is the one that we have just created. So that's it on how you'd be able to do this. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.